Jamil Hassan, the Crypto Hipster, where I interview founders, entrepreneurs, co-founders, executives, thought leaders, amazing people all around the world in crypto and blockchain. And I have another amazing guest. I'm looking forward to this interview. His name is Agustin Lacerra. He's the CEO at Num Finance. Agustin, welcome.
Thank you very much, Shamil, for having me here. And it is really exciting to be here and to talk for a while about this amazing crypto ecosystem.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it. So let's kick things off. Ask you first, what is your background, and is it a logical background for what you're doing now?
Yeah, well, I have a background in electronic engineering from the Buenos Aires University here in Argentina. I am from Argentina. I also earned a master's degree in quantitative finance. And since 2017, I've been deeply involved in the crypto ecosystem, where I worked as head trader and then CFO for one of the Latin American leading exchanges. Before that, I was involved in the financial world, the traditional financial world. I was the financial exposure manager at YPF, the largest Argentinian oil and gas company, where I handle crude oil price exposure and FX rate exposure as well. So my journey blends finance and technology that are my two passions, and the crypto ecosystem and blockchain. I consider that it is the perfect intersection for this passion. So I am really involved in the ecosystem, and I really expect that this ecosystem continue to grow.
Oil, nice. I've seen over the past years, and I could be wrong, I have a follow-up, that the price of oil is not necessarily correlated to the price of Bitcoin. Have you seen a correlation?
Yeah, it depends. Sometimes the price of Bitcoin is more correlated to the equity, the stocks and the equity markets. But then in some periods, as we are seeing with high inflation, maybe the price of Bitcoin could be much more correlated to the commodity sector. So I believe that in the long run, as both oil and crude oil and Bitcoin are assets that cannot be produced in an infinite way, it could be correlated. We recently heard about a new discovery in the Antarctic zone. I don't know if you heard about it. Russia has discovered more than 500 billion barrels of crude oil. So it could affect the supply side of crude oil. With Bitcoin, with a limited supply, 21 million and no more, it is much more predictable. So the differences in prices can be, like, I would say, in the long run, it is a much more valuable asset for store value.
Great, thank you. It's not too often I get experts on commodities on my show, so I had to ask. So thank you very much for fielding that question. So let's get into Num Protocol. What is Num Protocol all about? What makes you great?
Yeah, Num Finance and Num Protocol is about bringing real-world assets into the digital ecosystem. We started back in 2022 with a pilot to tokenize the Argentine peso here in Argentina. It was a really big hit. It is still going strong today. And we are now gearing up to launch a variety of tokenized products for the global market, including ETFs, stocks, bonds, and so on. So our goal is to make these traditional financial assets more accessible and versatile through blockchain technology for DeFi ecosystem. We believe that these kind of products are the best collateral for the crypto world, to have a credit line against your T-bills or your assets in the traditional financial side. So we are working on creating these railways for connecting and bridging the two worlds, the traditional financial one and the new crypto ecosystem. And we also believe that blockchain and DeFi are not here to change or to replace the finance as we all know, but to complement them and to bring new communication channels or channels of distributions for the financial assets, because the financial assets are only one. It could be generated digitally, as for example Bitcoin, or in the traditional way, such as a stock, a Tesla stock, for example. But I believe that in the coming years we will be seeing much products being or tokenized or directly digitalized from the beginning. So just imagine, for example, instead of having treasury bills or treasury bonds issued in the traditional way by a central bank, doing the same but 100% digitally. So you will have a token from the beginning, but you don't need to have the tokenization for that asset, because the asset itself will be born digitally. So I don't consider that crypto will be replacing the financial world, but complementing it and giving a channel of distribution for financial assets.
You said something really interesting to me. You said credit line. A lot of companies here in the US do not let people buy crypto with credit cards, right? And then if you try to get a line, which I did, to buy crypto, you can't get that. But you said you're offering a credit line. So I want to get in a little bit more detail about how that works.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. A credit line in crypto, I don't know if the public is related with protocols such as Aave or MakerDAO. They allow their clients to have a loan against collateral, because the problem nowadays in crypto is that you don't know if behind the transaction the wallet is owned by Warren Buffett or nobody, basically. So you cannot trust, and crypto is conceived in that sense. You cannot trust anybody. You need to see the transaction on chain, to test all the protocols, the environment. So the way the lending protocols work is receiving a collateral for giving a loan. And the common question there is, why I need the loan if I have a collateral that needs to be greater than the loan itself? And the answer for that is exposure. Because just imagine, as you were mentioning, that you have Bitcoin or ETH, and you believe that in the coming years the price for Bitcoin is going to skyrocketing, for example. So you don't want to sell your Bitcoin, but you want to buy a car. So if you don't want to sell your Bitcoin, but you need to buy some goods, some stuff. You don't have possibilities with the traditional financial world. With this kind of protocols, as we are building with the Numum ecosystem, you can leave your cryptos as collateral and then to obtain a credit line against those assets. And the really cool thing here is that as some cryptos, such as Bitcoin, if are really liquid, the possibility for liquidating the collateral if you are not paying your loan is quite easy. Compared, for example, to liquidate a mortgage, a house that is a really illiquid asset. So the rates for having a loan in crypto, we are seeing that the rates are quite low. In some times, just in bull markets, as people want to have some leverage, rates can grow, but we are seeing it like a really good possibility for crypto holders. And in that sense, as I was mentioning, having real world assets as collateral, such as, for example, the S&P 500 ETF tokenized as collateral, is much more interesting because these ETFs or T-bills are the most liquid assets in the world. So it is really, really easy to liquidate, and it could be reflected on the rate you are receiving for your loan. So we really see it as an interesting approach for bridging the two worlds.
You mentioned the Numum ecosystem, right? And you have a very novel approach to RWA tokenization. I want to find out how that works, and then the overall token market, the RWA token market opportunity globally.
Yeah. Well, the Numum ecosystem is our latest venture into creating a comprehensive crypto ecosystem focused on, as you were mentioning, tokenizing of real world asset, RWAs, as they are called. There is a significant demand in the crypto community for exposure to tangible assets, because as we were discussing, during a bull run, all of the crypto ecosystem is willing to be exposed to Bitcoin, ETH, or other altcoins. But during a bear market or in some times where the market is sideways, it is important to have the possibility to not be like allocated in USDC with zero yield or USDC, USDT, but to be invested in traditional financial products such as as I was mentioning, USD bills or S&P 500 index, which can serve, as I was mentioning, as a solid collateral for loans. So we see this demand growing in the future. Numum aims to meet this need by providing a secure, fast, and transparent way to tokenize and integrate real world assets in a regulated manner, in which Numum Finance, that is part of the Numum ecosystem, is acting as the tokenizer for these traditional financial assets, where you will be able to mint and to transparent to see your collateral in the Numum finance platform. And the collateral, basically, for just taking the T-bills example, if you have the Numum tokenized version of T-bills, the collateral or the assets that are backing those tokens are directly T-bills in a segregated bank account that is bankruptcy remote. So if tomorrow Numum Finance ceases to exist, for example, you as the token holder will have the right to redeem the T-bills that are backing your assets, your tokens. So it is quite important, and we are working on reinforcing these kind of concepts, such as bankruptcy remoteness. There are not several jurisdictions in the world that allow this kind of structure figure, but we are working in different jurisdictions, such as Bermuda, for example, that we are working for being licensed there, that really protect the retail users. So it is important for us to have this approach.
As a former Celsius customer who was embroiled in this bankruptcy for 600 days, I love your concept of bankruptcy proof. I think it's wonderful. Thank you. So, I want to shift gears a little bit because you mentioned a couple DeFi platforms, protocols. What do you feel are some of the emerging DeFi trends and learnings that, from Latin America especially, that can be leveraged globally?
Yeah, sure. Well, Latin America and especially in Argentina, crypto has seen widespread adoption last years. A few years ago, many people didn't have access to traditional banking systems or services here in Argentina and Latin America. And issues like inflation and currency devaluation push them towards alternative investments, such as Bitcoin or crypto. So this environment has helped the DeFi community here in Latin America to grow a lot. And now globally, we are seeing countries that didn't have these problems a few years ago that are starting to face similar challenges. So I believe that this could lead to a broader adoption of crypto and DeFi solution all around the world. And another important thing in Latin America is that most of the Latin American players have self-regulated themselves, because the lack of regulation in Latin America made these players to self-regulate, adopting the best practices from tech, regulatory standards, compliance, and finance. So I would say that as the regulations discussion globally take place, for me it is crucial to involve industry leaders to ensure consumer protection, and also to understand the approach. For example, in Latin America, we are experiences in which, for crypto to become mainstream, I would say that the retail consumer, the retail user, don't need to understand what a blockchain transaction is, what is a hash, what is a seed phrase, because as all of us today use internet, nobody knows, or not nobody, but 99% of the people don't know what the TCP IP protocol of internet is, and we are all using emails, credit cards, purchases online. So I would say that in crypto we are still missing that part of the development in which we abstract the retail user of the technology.
Makes sense to me. Yeah, I see a lot of the people who are buying the meme coins not understanding that the underlying is Solana or Ethereum or whatever, not really caring either. You know,
Yeah,
I see that. So, You are in Argentina.
Yeah. Now let me say something maybe controversial, but one application that did that really well from my point of view was Terra. I don't know if you remember Terra, but despite being a scam, basically, the UX, the user interface, was really simple. The wallets you need to use was really simple, and the user interface was 2 clicks, and you are invested in some similar United States stablecoin with a lot of issues there, but with 2 clicks, you were invested, receiving a yield. So I think that we are missing this kind of abstraction here in crypto nowadays. And in Latin America, we are seeing some projects and CeFi wallets that are doing that quite well to abstract the retail user from the technology.
You think Terra was a scam?
Yeah, I would say at least the tokenomics were not well designed.
I agree with you there. The tokenomics were not well designed, but I say the bigger scam was the Chicago-based hedge funds who wanted to try to kill it from the get-go. So but the tokenomics were not strong for any of these algorithmic stables. So. But you are in Argentina, and you had a new president, I believe, this year, and you were in the news globally for it, right? So you're under a pro-crypto country now. What is the status of the Argentine government requirements for crypto firms?
Yeah, we are seeing some changes here in Argentina. In terms of the political side, and the government is much more open to new products, new economies, and new players also. But Argentina has recently established a registry for digital asset service providers, which basically requires companies to both local and foreign companies to register and meet certain criteria. I find it interesting, and I'm always pro regulation because I believe that without regulation, companies cannot protect consumers, or it depends on the which kind of company it is. So I believe that regulation is necessary, but it is also important to understand what a good regulation is. So in Argentina nowadays, we only have this registry, and that is overseen by the National Securities Commission, like the SEC in the US. And this is a significant first step towards regulating the crypto sector. Additionally, there's these days a new initiative called Crecimiento here in Argentina, and to positioning Argentina and Buenos Aires as a leading crypto hub in the world. This movement brings together industry leaders, experts, and government officials to create a solid foundation for growth. So I believe that despite being self-regulated, the crypto sector here in Argentina, and it did work well in the past 7 years. I see as a positive sign to have this registry and to start conversation and talking with the regulators for a really good regulation here in Argentina, taking the best practices from jurisdictions such as Luxembourg, Bermuda, maybe Switzerland, that are open for innovation, but also they protect the consumer, the retail segment.
Trying to think what other countries might be beneficial. I think Lithuania is or was, and then Cayman.
Yeah.
So I was trying to think also of the current issues, and that's really inhibiting DeFi globally for global adoption. Like they're like scalability, lack of reliability, and what else?
Yeah, I think that DeFi adoption faces several challenges. Scalability and reliable on-chain data are really key issues. So as DeFi grows, current blockchain infrastructure struggles to handle the transaction efficiently. So I believe that to tackle this problem, we need more development in layer 2 solutions, better interoperability between blockchains, also improving oracles, data in oracles, and integrating robust data verification. So there are different protocols and solutions that we are seeing nowadays, such as Eigenlayer and so on, that are quite interesting. But I consider that we need to be really, really careful when we talk about infrastructure development, because I would say that it is one part of the ecosystem in which you cannot fail. You can fail with a lending protocol and the ecosystem can recover, but when you fail with infrastructure, the whole ecosystem could fail, as we saw, for example, with the Ethereum merge. If the Ethereum merge would have failed, it would have meant a disaster for the Ethereum community, and basically maybe the end of a big part of the ecosystem. So in that sense, I would say that we need to develop much more solutions in the infrastructure side, but without speed, but with really consciousness regarding what we are doing and the purpose for these developments.
I wasn't planning on talking about infrastructure, but you piqued my curiosity. When I look, and you mentioned oracles, when I look at the oracles that are out there, I expected, but now I expected more. Not more oracles, but I expected more development from, more bridging from TradFi to DeFi, and the oracles having a more prominent role in doing that. And to date, I haven't seen them act as I have expected. What do you expect out of the oracles, and how do we get them to expedite, the transition to Web3?
Yes, I agree with you. I believe that maybe the oracle market will be governed, or at least we will be seeing much more players from the traditional financial world working on that market, because they are regulated. People trust in some source of truth from them, and there is a really interesting challenge in giving prices or trust or certainty for real world assets in the blockchain ecosystem. You need to, For example, just imagine for a hedging for rains in California, just for saying something. You need to communicate the blockchain and to tell the blockchain and the smart contracts if it rained in California, how much did it rain, and things like this. And this cannot be done without some intermediaries, because you need some at least sensor testers that are receiving this information from the real world and translating that information for blockchain uses. So I believe that a really interesting challenge there is how this information is converted and translated from the real world to the blockchain side. And we are working on that with Noom. We are working on having real liquid assets such as the T-bills, ETFs, that in which people agree which the price is. For example, for a T-bill, you know, and you can check online how much a T-bill for 3 months costs today. So it is much more easier to agree and to have certainty in this kind of assets. Then I would say that this is like the first step in having real world asset oracles on chain. We need to build really trusted companies that can give this information to the crypto ecosystem.
I'm glad you said that. I was looking for the T-bill rate, and I just stumbled upon the U.S. debt clock, which is the national debt in the U.S. is $34 trillion and increasing by a lot more money than I have by the second. And, you know, one of our presidential candidates, Robert Kennedy, who's probably the only presidential candidate who's pro-crypto in the U.S. right now, you know, is saying that he's in favor of putting the whole entire U.S. Budget or country budget on a blockchain. You know, and that might be a good idea for other countries too. So you mentioned, you know, core tenets of transparency and trust. So how could Noom's core tenets of those transparency and trust be helpful in putting these countries on a budget on the blockchain?
Yeah, sure. Well, there you have like two different approaches. No, the first one is to have the budget or the transaction being recorded on a public ledger. The other one is like the approach that El Salvador has taken, that is buying crypto with their treasury. I would say that for the last one, the second one, it is important to understand the volatility of Bitcoin and other crypto assets, and the reason why a country or a government or a bank is buying this kind of assets. What they are expecting to have an increase in value in the next couple of months. They are purchasing Bitcoin for not being that dependent on the US dollar or in other currencies in the long run. So I would say that for the second approach, it is important to understand these kind of things. I believe that Bitcoin will act as a real and really important store of value in the next decades. But I think that for a country, it's important to to only buy a really little fraction of their treasury in these volatile assets. For the first approach, having like the entire budget or transactions on blockchain, you have like pros and cons. The first pro that I would mention is transparency. With every transaction recorded on a public ledger, it becomes really easy for citizens to monitor government spending. Then the security is another important point, and the efficiency. On the other hand, you have some cons, such as privacy, because you have transparency, but there are some sensitive information that might need to stay private. Some technical challenges that it is like a huge challenge to implement all of the government transactions on chain. And then, like the biggest headache in all of these things, that is the regulatory issues, in which you need to change a lot of laws and regulations to allow these things to happen. Some approach that some countries are taking is to have like the traditional rails maintained, but also starting to implement the information in blockchains just for public registry. So I think that this last approach is the best one, because you can move forward in a smooth way and not like with some digital or discrete jump between two technologies. And with Noom, we are collaborating on that because, as I was mentioning, we are focused on transparency and trust. We offer regulated products that provide complete transparency regarding the management or underlying asset, the proof of reserve, the minting and redeeming of token. So in a regulated environment, countries and banks could comply with all regulations. So I believe that this is the correct approach for interacting between these two amazing worlds, the traditional financial one and the crypto ecosystem also.
Sounds good. Yeah, very good. So I want to thank you very much for your time today. I really enjoyed speaking with you. I do have one last question. It's probably the easiest one. I tell everybody that, but it is. How can people find more information about you, about Noom Finance, Use Protocol? How can they do that?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you very much, Jamil, for having me here. It was really, really interesting to talk to you. And well, you can find more about Noom in our Twitter, Noom Finance, basically, and then in our website also, Noom.finance as well. And well, from the personal side, people can also find me on Twitter as my last name and my name, Liserra Agustin. So really, really excited to talk more about these things.
Awesome. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you, Jamil.